Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, brought to you by the Draft Professor. The Draft Professor is a group of podcasters bringing you daily draft podcasts and is home to the only dynamic mock draft simulator which allows fans to mock draft against other fans. The Draft Professor Simulator features a first-round challenge, 5 unique one-round drafts. The Draft Professor Simulator features a second-round challenge, 10 unique 2-round drafts. All mock drafts are always picking against the fans and draft analysts which use the simulator. Every mock, every pick, every time. The Draft Professor also features ranked players functionality, where you can rank your favorite players at every position. Optionally, you can add tiers to your rankings to show what round you have the players graded in. The Draft Professor also features Draft a Team functionality, which allows users to snake draft a team of 22 players to demonstrate your my guys, compare player strengths, and discuss draft prospects in a way no other mock draft simulator can. Thank you for tuning in to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. This episode will begin shortly. Well, good evening and welcome to Wednesday, everybody. This is the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. I'm with Randall and EJ. EJ, it's good to see you this week. How are you?
Good to be here. I'm doing all right. I'm doing well.
Randall, welcome to Wednesday early show. I don't know that you've done this time slot before, so it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I have not since I was on Wednesdays like a couple months ago, but yeah, good to be. Cool. Love Wednesdays. Let's go.
Yeah, so EJ, you wanted to talk about some guys that you thought, let's say, won the combine or had a really good combine. And when you sent me the list, I loved it because you had some guys on the list that I don't know that the mainstream media has not been talking about. So, this is definitely your platform. And who is the first player that you want to talk about that you liked what they did at the combine?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of these guys on my list, I had watched before. Some of them, like this guy that's first on the list, I hadn't even watched him yet. So a lot of the times I was watching the combine and I see I see a good number, I see a good work. I'm like, who is this guy? So I got to get to work. I got to go back to the film. So this is pretty much a list of guys that sent me back to the film. Some of these guys I watched on tape. I thought one thing about them. Then I watched them at the combine and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't see that there. Let me go back and see. So this is pretty much just like my due diligence list of players that I want to get back to and players that stood out to me. So the first one is Robert Longerbeam out of Rutgers. This is guy 5'11", 175. He caught my eye because it wasn't just the 4.3, was it 4.39 40? It was the vertical. It was the 10-yard split. It was the broad jump, all together, all encompassing. You put all those workouts together, like the vertical, the broad jump, your 40-yard, your 10-yard split, that lends itself to lower body explosiveness. And I wanted to see this guy. I wanted to see, does that translate to the film? And it does. It does. This guy definitely can run. They play him in some man coverage. He's comfortable in man coverage. He's playing him some zone, mainly like some cover 3 zone. I like him in zone, but he also has the physicality. Even though he's 175, he doesn't tackle like he's 175. He's not afraid to come in there and stick his nose in there. But the willingness is there when he's tackling, not the effectiveness, because he still is 175. So sometimes he's going to bounce off some guys, or he's just got to hold on and wait for his teammates to get there. So that is an issue. The weight and the overall play strength, that would be an issue. But I don't see this guy having trouble running with anybody. I don't see this guy having trouble covering anything vertical downfield. I don't see any type of coverage limitations in his game. I think he's a guy that pretty much just size will limit his game. And I don't know if he translates to the nickel or if he's more than likely probably going to start off as a backup outside corner. He probably will naturally get heavier, get stronger. But I believe this guy, he's a guy that you draft on day 3, and he's going to make your final 53, and he's going to stick around for a long time.
So, Randall, what did you have on him?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he had 4 full years at Rutgers playing over like 450 snaps, so he's been through it. He's learned the game and things like that. That 11-foot broad jump is crazy for somebody at 5'11". I'm gonna look up to see who actually led in the broad jump on the combine, because I didn't see a lot of 11-footers. So that's super impressive to see. And you're right, he's got that explosiveness. When you use that explosiveness and his 4.39 40, you can tell he can put his foot in the ground. He can travel on go routes. In 2023 and 2024 for run support, he had 88 tackles, 54 solo, and 3 tackles for loss. He helps in that run, in the run support, even though he is a little bit on the thinner side. When outside runs come, sometimes he kind of gets washed away by his blocking and things like that. He does have 31.5-inch arms, so that does help to shed him, but his weight is a factor to limit him. Great speed, great for man coverage. I do think he goes in the slot because he is decent at man coverage, but I think he's good at zone. Had a really good rep against Virginia Tech that I was watching, where basically he stuck onto a guy doing circles in the intermediate while the QB was scrambling. And then once the QB decided to run because he had no open receivers, he switched off and hit that quarterback for a loss, which was impressive. So the combine showed his athleticism and what he can do in that backfield. And I agree. I think the combine got his name out there to get him into that late day 3, round 6 thing. EJ, did you have a spot where you might see him go drafted, or do you think that the combine got him into the draft?
Definitely combine. I think he probably would have been in the draft regardless, but combine probably got him. I still say he's a day 3 guy. But combine probably got him from maybe like the 5th or 6th round to maybe the 4th or 5th round.
Awesome. Yeah. Love that.
And he did actually have the best broad jump.
He did? Okay.
Yep.
I was like, I saw that 11 foot and I was like, I didn't see that number often.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys said 5'11", 175, right?
Yep.
Compare and contrast. This is Longerbeam, right?
Yep.
Compare and contrast Longerbeam to Kobe Bryant.
I would say I think I like Kobe Bryant's ball skills a little bit better. Kobe Bryant is more fluid in his movements, while Longerbeam is more explosive and twitchy in his movements. I would say that I think Kobe Bryant has a little bit more explosiveness. I mean, not explosiveness, but more of polish to his game. Like, because when he's back in a zone and he's reading the quarterback's eyes and he's reading route combinations, that's when he's at his best. I think he does his homework in the film room, and that leads to his ball skills, to him getting his interceptions. I think he has that over Longerbeam. I would say only thing Longerbeam I would give to him over Kobe Bryant. I would say he's more of a willing physical tackler, and I think he's an overall better athlete.
Yeah,
Randall,
I mean, I can actually kind of agree that I think Kobe Bryant has a good tackling technique, while Longerbeam goes for it and is more aggressive in his tackling, which I love. And Kobe Bryant didn't test in his agility and explosiveness for it, and you can kind of see that on tape a little bit. With Longerbeam, he can plant his foot and he can close really, really well. Kobe Bryant can do that on the outside, but I always notice if there's a route on the inside, a crosser or a quick slant, his back movement into inside is a little clunky, and he loses about 1 to 2 yards of separation, and that's kind of how you beat Kobe Bryant a lot instead of going out deep. I think Longerbeam's faster than him, and things along those lines. So athletically, I do agree. I think Kobe Bryant's just got a little bit higher IQ and a better ball hawk mentality. He had 4 forced fumbles, 13 interceptions, and 18 pass breakups in his career. So a little bit more of a ball hawk, but I do agree that he's a little longer, could be a better athlete.
And then Longerbeam, boundary corner, slot corner. EJ, what do you think?
I say boundary corner. I like him better outside. As far as being a slot corner, he can play inside on certain downs, but him being a full-time slot cornerback, which means he has run fit responsibilities, and I can see teams trying to attack him in that aspect. So I would prefer he stay on the outside.
Okay. And does Longerbeam have any kick return punt return history? Do we know that?
I didn't see. I'm not sure.
I did not see it. I don't think he does, but I can check that real quick. If EJ wants
I was about to go see if this could be a my guy late, right? So Randall and I are Bills fans. We need a defensive back that can return kicks.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
We do. Well, Buffalo draft day 3, you have to have special teams sort of thing. Let me see. Yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Yeah, he does kick return, punt return, field goal. He does it all except kick return, kick coverage, field goal block, punt return are his main focus. 2023, 2022, 2021, he had over 100 snaps in special teams. And then they took it away a little bit in 2024. So yes, he is a special teams wizard.
Awesome. So EJ, who is the next player that you think is a combine winner off of your list?
Next one I got is Tyrion Ingram Dawkins from Georgia. He's 6'5", 276, 33-inch arms and 9-inch hands. He stood out because he is top of his class in broad jump, top of his class in vertical, top of his class in 10-yard split. Had the third best 40 in the defensive tackle class. So you look at the whole picture and it's like, okay, this guy is explosive. And then plus he has pedigree coming from Georgia playing in the SEC. So when you pop on the tape, you see the guy, you see him just like a lot of the Georgia defensive linemen. They're playing inside. They're playing the run first. It's not a lot of flashy pass rush reps out of him because that's just how Georgia does it. Mm-hmm. But if you watch and that's another thing when scouting defensive tackles, one thing you got to look for is what they're being asked to do, whether they're being asked to rush the passer on that given down or whether they're asked to read and react. It's pretty much, it's called you watch their feet and you see it's called a passive stance or a staggered stance. Passive stance is just where your feet are side by side. You got a wide base and they're in a 3-point stance. Staggered stance is more of a track stance when they're in the 3-point stance and one foot is in front of the other. Staggered stance, they're rushing upfield. They're trying to get to the quarterback. Passive stance is where they read and react first, that their first instinct is to hold their ground, then attack. So that's one thing you look for when you watch the defensive tackles to see whether they're being asked to rush the passer a lot. And he's not been asked to rush the passer a lot. Sometimes he's on the edge. They ask him to set the edge in a 4-down lineman set. They do play him as a defensive end. They do kick him inside to a 4-eye. He has the play strength to do both. He has the explosiveness. You don't see the explosiveness a lot on film, and I believe that's by design because he has other responsibilities. He has to hold his ground. He has to read his blocks. He has to let the other outside linebackers get their rushes in. That's pretty much Georgia didn't ask him to rush the passer, but he shows that ability. He shows the athletic traits to do that. So this is a guy that he has the upside to be something different than what he was over at Georgia. Now, if you really want him to be a pass rusher, it's going to take some time because the technique isn't there all the way. He has some moves, some pass rush moves. He has some hand usage, but it needs refinement. It's not the top of where it's going to be yet. But basically, you looking at a height, weight, speed athlete that you can put on your defensive line, up and down the defensive line. You can kick him inside, or you want to let him rush from the outside. He has some versatility. He's an athlete with versatility, and I think that's going to get him drafted. I would say late day 2, early day 3.
Yeah, okay. Man, that was like pretty much what I had, EJ. That was kind of perfect. I mean, that's who he is. I mean, even me and Jim were talking about it before he stepped in about Tyrion because we were talking about how cool your list was for Combine. But You're right. I mean, a lot of his job because when you're looking at Georgia and they have the 3 up front, sometimes they put Tyrion at 276 right at nose tackle, and he would play good contain. As he would take up a double team, he would take away some gaps for the run game, and then he'd let Jalen Walker and Michael Williams come on that outside and do their job sort of thing. He did that well, and they split those shares like crazy. Like 20% of his snaps came from the B gap, so as a 3 tech, 40% came from the 5-eye, 50% what was it? 30% came from way outside of the 7-eye. And when he rushes on the edge, it does look good. He just kind of almost needs more reps to get familiar with his pass rush moves and his power on there. But I agree. A lot of his job was to contain, plug up holes. He did it well. He did his job well. And then when he did his pass rushing, sometimes it looked a little lackluster, but it is just because he doesn't do it as often as he should. Because he had 19 pressures, 3 sacks, a QB hit. He has 8 tackles for losses, credited with 17 defensive stops, which is great. He got a forced fumble, which is impressive for the way they use him. When you're looking at like his Texas game, all it was pretty much contain, good offensive line. He contained well, kind of helped stop the run. And then you look at Notre Dame, they put him more on the edge and more of the 3-tech, and he looked great in pass rushes. He was pushing back the offensive line. It looked good. He helped Riley Leonard in a couple of tackle for losses because, he likes to QB sneak it or QB run it a lot. He helped push back the offensive line to stun him on his runs. He looked good. I agree. I didn't watch a lot of them until I saw this list, and I was watching it, and I was a lot more impressed than I was. I would say that he's an early day 3 because he's more of a project, but I see where you're coming from for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think one of the things that, first of all, day 3 projects are okay.
For sure.
It's when you draft somebody in round 1 and they're a project.
Yeah.
That there's probably going to be a few more eyes roll or laughs or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned, talking to different draft professors, Parker's entire round 4 is guys just like this. He literally, his round 4 grade is project.
Wow.
I would like to see that list.
Out of round 3. If somebody falls out of round 3, they immediately go to round 5.
Oh, wow.
Parker's round 4
Really?
is entirely trait-based projects.
Oh, he likes to gamble.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
right. Would that be round 5?
According to Parker, that's when you do it. You don't do projects rounds 1 through 3. They're safe for round 4. So if you ever get a chance to watch either one of Parker's podcasts, which is at 10 p.m. on Tuesdays, or you watch them on Rewind, it's comical because Drew, the person who podcasts with him, uses a completely different measurement technique.
Oh, wow.
Those guys are funny. But
Yeah, for sure.
We need to circle back to this group. But I'm like, this is a Parker guy. This is going to be somebody I'm going to teach Parker with next week. Okay, so EJ, is there somebody else you thought won the combine?
Next guy I got is Fadil Diggs from Syracuse. He's a guy that I actually haven't watched yet. So I knew the name because I remember him from Texas A&M back in 23, and I just didn't keep track of him where he went. And when I seen him pop up at the combine, pop up with a 4.5, 740, 160, 10-yard split, 30-inch vertical, 10-foot broad. Those are good numbers for 6'4", 257. Now, old school GMs from back in the day, they'll say that 10-yard split, that 160, that's the threshold for what they consider explosive. Anything above 160, you're not that explosive, but anything 160 or below, they consider that explosive. He hits that threshold right there for explosiveness. Now, I just watched him against Miami, and he's another guy. You don't see the explosiveness right off the bat. That's because they're asking him to play the run first. They're asking him to they got him on TEs, tackle stunts. They got him rushing inside, creating space for other people. But you see flashes of it against Miami in the second quarter. They had a 2nd and 8, obvious passing situation. And he's got a nice little club rip move where he can get around the offensive tackle. He sacked Cam Ward on that play. Play right after that is a 3rd and long, and he breaks out the speed to power and pretty much pushes the offensive tackle back into Cam Ward's lap. That's just a 2-play encapsulation of what he can do when he's when you take the leash off, when you let him just pin his ears back and attack. So he can do some things there, but it's not consistent. What I want to see from him, I would like to see him get a little bit stronger. I want to see his hands get a little bit more violent. He has some moves, some pass rush moves, but when he lays your hands on your offensive tackle, I want to see the offensive tackle recoil from the power that you hit him with. That's how you really make a difference with your pass rush. You create a separation from that offensive tackle to where he can't latch on and hold on to you. I would like to see him get a little bit more violent with his hands. That can come with reps, and that can come with coaching, and that comes pretty much with time. But as he is now, that's where I would see he could take his game to another level if he added that to his game. He has some first step explosiveness. It's not I wouldn't say it's like James Pierce first step explosiveness, but it's pretty good. He can get around the edge. He can get a good jump on the ball. He's solid size for the defensive inside. That's another thing. I wouldn't say he's the most versatile guy. I think he's pretty much purely defensive end, 5 technique, 7 technique, 9 technique. You want him rushing from the outside. I think he would get washed down if they kicked him inside for certain reps. But I think he's a pure defensive end. But in the league, I think he transitions immediately to a rotation defensive end. You bring him in on obvious pass situations. He can play the run as well. So if you wanted to play him on neutral downs or early downs, he can do that as well. But he's a guy that you just put in your defensive end room, and he's in the rotation. You get him a couple of snaps a game, and then go from there.
Yeah.
So what did you have on Diggs?
Yeah, I differ a little bit. I do agree in year one, he should probably just come off the edge and then maybe do a couple other things. But, they kind of put him once in a while off the line. So he'll come back from a linebacker space sort of thing and attack, which I really love that out of Syracuse. He has a 15% pass rush win rate. So that goes well. I think he is good in run support. He has 14 tackles for loss, 25 solo. He does that well. He's agile and pretty athletic in my eyes for that. I agree. I watched that Miami game. He had that 1 sack. He also has a 2-sack game against UNLV. He had a 7 pressure, 1 sack, 2 QB hit against Cal. That was really good. Buffalo's scouted Syracuse like 5 or 6 times, so I'm definitely intrigued by Diggs in that early day 3. I think he can play in that 3 tech role once in a while, but I agree he comes off. He's got good bend. I think he doesn't have an explosive first step, but again, sometimes they put him off the line so that he has that speed to close in. So then he can get it on there. But he does. I mean, and to piggyback off that Miami game that we're watching, so he gets dropped into coverage 110 times in the 2024. So he'll drop into coverage kind of in that outside the linebacker role. And during Miami, he had a great coverage right up against Cam Ward where he went to go cover the flat. And Cam Ward went to go pitch it over to the flat, noticed that wasn't available for him, went and ran, and then he got a sack on Cam Ward because of that. And I thought that was a batted ball, and I thought that was impressive. I do agree that he could get stonewalled by guards and tackles in that 3 tech, so he would have to improve that game. But they do kind of use him in a linebacker role once in a while with that edge qualities, and I think somebody along the NFL will develop his linebacker qualities that he has, but keep him at edge.
So interesting thing about Diggs. So as you guys know, like we're Draft Professor, we do whatever, cornerbacks, and you got to go watch 20 or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a group that I think everybody was a new podcaster to Draft Professor, but I found, the 3 or 4 guys, and one of the guys was a Dolphins podcaster. And like I'm in their Discord and stuff. So he came on the podcast and he says, could you give me the edge list to watch? Right. So this year, right, you get like 35 or 40 guys.
Right.
And he had Diggs in his top 12 off of his initial watch. He saw what you're identifying here, EJ.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Right. So on his watch, and this was before the combine. Right. Mm-hmm. And this is Eric. So you could go look at like the Edge playlist and look for whichever, because Eric's only podcasted, I think, once or twice.
Yeah.
But like it was interesting because, again, like he's showing me the board, as I'm building the graphics. And it was just cool that he saw something in Diggs that I don't know that I had heard anybody else. Like everybody's just saying, he's a day 3 guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like there's some explosiveness there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what NFL teams want.
Yeah, I'm like, and Fadil Diggs, he has a little fan base out there because it was like right before the combine. Well, no, it was right after the defensive end had worked, and they did a side-by-side comparison of his combine numbers versus Shamar Stewart's combine numbers, which were insane, and he's not far off at all. And so it's a lot of guys that are Fadil Diggs guys, and I can see it.
Agreed.
Right, like I could definitely see like Diggs going late. I should just say I can see Diggs going round 3 because if you have the explosiveness, and to your point, if his measurables are similar to Shamar Stewart, he comes at like a third of the cost because you don't have to have a top 20 pick to go get him.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I see it. And like and Randall and I are from Western New York.
Mm-hmm.
So if you bring a Syracuse guy in the podcast, we're
all day.
Yeah.
It's finally we're getting prospects out of Syracuse that are worth watching.
It took like 30 years. Yes.
Donovan McNabb. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. But EJ, do you have another do you have another podcast winner? Do you have another combine winner?
Yeah. Next one I got is Thomas Fidone. I don't know if it's Fidone or Fidone but Thomas Fidone out of Nebraska. This guy he was the number 1 ranked tight end coming out of high school in the country. I think he was a 5-star. But the problem with him was he tore his ACL right after his senior year of high school. And then he got into Nebraska. He had offers from all the big schools, Alabama, LSU, everybody, even after the ACL. He chose Nebraska. His freshman year in Nebraska, he tore his ACL again. So now you got a guy. That's why a lot of the tape you see on him, he has a brace around his knee. I didn't hear anything at the combine about him being medically red flagged or anything like that. But as far as I know, the ACL is healed. He's about 3 years removed from that. And he shows up athletically, 6'5", 243 pounds. All the explosive categories, the 10-yard split, the 40, the vertical broad, he's near the top at all of them. You see, with the tight ends, you see the same 3 or 4 names at the top of every explosive category. And he's consistently one of them. And when you put on the tape, you see why he was considered the best tight end in the country coming out of high school. He's big. He runs very well. And the thing is, a lot of tight ends you see when they're running with the ball in their hands, they don't look very coordinated. They can either run in a straight line or they almost trip over their own feet. I mean, look at Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is a perfect example. He's a big guy, excellent route runner, almost probably might be a Hall of Famer, maybe, but he can't run with the football in his hands to save his life. Like here in Philly, they used to call him No Yak Zach. So
I like that.
Yeah. So and it's true. It's true. It
is. You're right. Yeah.
He catches the ball. He can catch 100 balls in a season, but he's not giving you nothing after that. He's going to fall down.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like big tight ends, they're not coordinated runners. This guy is a coordinated runner with the ball in his hands. I've seen him dead leg somebody. You want to juke somebody at 6'5", 243. So that's very intriguing. And we know the guy, he ran a 4.7, which is fine for 243-pound tight end. 157 10-yard split. Remember what I said about the 160 threshold. 35-inch vertical, 10.6 in a broad jump, 7.01 3-cone. Those are good numbers for a guy that size, and he probably plays a little bit heavier than 243. He is another thing I look at when I scout tight ends is, well, first, can they block? And yes, he can block. He gives you an honest effort blocking. You feel comfortable with him blocking tight ends on certain reps, or blocking defensive ends on certain reps. He has the strength to do that. The main thing is he has the willingness. He wants to block, and that's the first step in the tight end being a good blocker. And then the second thing I look at with tight ends is, can they do something on their own? Meaning, can they get open on their own? A lot of times these routes with tight ends, you're either running up the seam against zone coverage. A lot of tight end production comes against zone coverage, or it's coming like as a screen after the catch or something like that. I want to see if tight end can get open on his own. Can I send you on a out route? Can I send you on a dig route or something like that? And can you gain separation on his own? I've seen on film he can do that. They don't throw him the ball a whole lot, but he can do that. He can run routes. He can get open on his own, and he does have run after the catch ability. Has strong hands. Catches the ball with his hands. Is not a body catcher. He's a guy that I think he's immediately your tight end 2 on a team, and he has upside to be a starter.
Yeah, I agree. The combine, I watched him in like December, and I had him kind of like, he's good, but he's not in that top 7 sort of thing. The athleticism stood out, and then watched a little bit more, and I do agree. I mean, it's fun to watch him run routes because he kind of acts like he's not 243 when he's running. At the stem of his route, he has like a shoulder shake as well to get out on those out routes and those dig routes. Super impressive, and his feet follow it. So it's not like his feet, shoulders, everything's in line with him. So I really like the way he runs routes, especially for his size. He looks great. You're right. I mean, he's got great hands. He had 1 drop this year, I believe. He roughly gets about 30 to 40 catches in the last 2 years for around like 330, which is good for an NFL tight end. If that's what you're expecting, especially without the drops, then you know that you're getting a reliable pass catcher in that tight end 2 role. And then you're right, he is great at blocking. He's good at the run game. He could get better at the run game in the blocking. He's a good kind of space filler to open up, but sometimes he gets pushed laterally and the gap integrity kind of loses a little bit. I do love him. I do love him in the pass protection. He's allowed 0 pressures in the last 2 years, and they give him a decent amount. I believe he's had 79 pass protection snaps, which is a lot, in my opinion, for a tight end like that. So that's great. I love everything about him. I think that his numbers did push him in. Where did you see him going in the draft?
I think he's going to go probably day 3, more than likely, just because the depth of the talent that's in this class. He'll probably go day 3. I would say 4th and beyond, 4th or 5th, I would say.
Yeah, I kind of had him at a 6th, and then the combine made me rewatch, and I agree. I'm with you there in that 4th and 5th.
Yeah. So for Fidone, talk to Drew. This is one of Drew's guys.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
So, yeah. So I believe I'll have to verify it was Drew, but we did a tight end. Actually, yeah, so it was definitely Drew. We did a tight end episode. It was either last Thursday or the Thursday before. And he's like, Jim, you don't have Fidone in the simulator. So I go look him up, make sure he's draft eligible, add him to the simulator, right? And he was pretty much saying the same thing that EJ just was. It was just before the combine. So I would definitely, your explanations of Fidone were very similar. A more athletic tight end. You don't see tight ends that are as athletic as you described often. So he's
just almost like he understands his body frame and he knows how to use it efficiently, sort of thing, instead of like his body getting in the way because he, 6'5", 243, and you're right, he probably does play bigger than 243.
And I think like let's say there's the tight ends, and like we're Bills fans, right? We have Dawson Knox, and I don't think anybody is thinking of Dawson Knox as an athletic tight end, right? But when you can find that tight end that has some of those special athletic traits, like you were talking about, and you're just saying, we need that in the room, right? Like we may have a starter, but you want to try putting, like, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for any rookie tight end to find themselves. They don't usually find themselves as a rookie. It's going to take a year or 2. This is definitely the kind of guy he's going to be drafted closer to round 4 than he will round 6. Just because teams are going to love the athleticism. And they're going to be like, I can get that blocking tight end a couple rounds later. But round 4, I'm going to take the chance on the guy that has some athletic traits that are more unique to the position.
Yeah. EJ, was it the same knee?
I think it was. That's the only thing to look out for. If he falls, then probably something came up with that knee.
Gotcha.
Cool. So EJ, have another combine winner. We've got them coming. I know we have a few more. So
yeah. Next one I got Kansas State running back DJ Giddens. Now he sent me back to the tape because when we did the running back episode, I had him listed up there, but I knocked him for his lack of explosiveness. And then he must have heard me talking. He ran out and goes to run out in 4.3, 4.4, 4.43 exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got to go back to the tape and see if I see 4.4 speed on the film. And so far, I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I watched him. He broke a long run against UT Martin and got ran down. And I'm like, how does he run? So basically, I mean, Aiden Hutchinson said this a couple of years ago. Guys change their bodies to test well at the combine. We all know that. But my only thing is he going to stay in this shape that allows him to run this 4.43 40? I'm sorry. I'll give you the numbers: 4.43 and a 1.53 10-yard split, 39-inch vertical, and a 10-10 broad jump. So that's explosiveness right there. I don't see it on the tape. I see the explosiveness laterally when he's making his cuts, when he's making guys miss. I see the explosiveness there. Straight line speed, as far as home run speed, I don't see that there. But he is a guy. He can be a very productive running back. I don't if he can stick to whatever regimen or training that got him in the shape that could put up these combine numbers, then he'll be a very, very, very good player at the next level. But and it may be just a case of him getting the right workout going on or something like that he didn't have before at Kansas State. But I didn't see the explosiveness that matches these numbers at Kansas State. But you never know. Well, I just watched him do it in the combine, and if he continues on this path, then he could be a really good. I might have to bump him up in my ranking because these are some explosive numbers that he put up.
Yeah,
so what do you have on Giddens?
I agree. Like, I didn't see much of the explosion. He's good at running on inside, and he's got that patience with his vision sort of thing. So he's not immediately explosive when he gets the ball because I think he's looking to find his lane, whoever's blocking on that right on the inside sort of thing. But you're right, because even when he breaks through that wall in the intermediate, he's not off to the races sort of thing. So I don't see that on that. But when he does bounce out, he's got like a little bit of James Cook to him. When he sees the inside plugged up, he has a good like shift, lateral shift over and then run to the bend sort of thing. And he does well in there. And that's where I did see the explosion. So you're right. I mean, I feel like I'm repeating what you're saying because I just 100% agree with you. I guess it's just kind of wait and see what NFL team takes him. I'd be curious because depending on what kind of running back style and scheme they run, does he stay at 212 or does he add the weight back if they want him in that yards after contact role? Because he did have about 75% yards after contact. He has good contact balance and he with that vision, so it was good. So we will see. I mean, I think I agree with you that dropping that weight and running that 1.56 10 yard is kind of a little bit better for his inside game, and he's still and that outside game to possess. So we'll see what happens. And I agree. I think he'll stay at that weight because NFL teams will ask him to stay at that weight and play like there.
Probably, yeah.
Right. So when we're dealing with running back explosiveness, right? Because DJ, you and I have spoke about this a little bit, but I think I'm going to ask maybe a more detailed question. So you were mentioning, against UT Martin, it sounds like he got either caught from behind or he got caught.
Yeah, they was some defensive back had the angle on him, and he just ran out of bounds. But it's just like you saw the defensive back gaining ground on him. I didn't know who the defensive back was, but you saw him gaining ground on him. But so this is, I don't know what week this, but this was early in the college season. So, and I'm guessing he played a little bit heavier than he went to the combine with. So because I mean he looked slower during the season than what he ran. So
my question with explosiveness, right? There's a difference between long speed and explosiveness. And for anybody listening, to me, explosiveness is short area quickness, short area power, short area speed in like a 5-yard or a 10-yard radius, as opposed to like long speed, you're trying to run away from somebody for 20 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you look at it the same way? Like, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
How pretty much how I see it, like explosiveness, acceleration, like how like get off. I consider that explosiveness. Like if your speed is explosive, I expect you to be fast from the jump. If you have more build up speed, it may take you like 4, 5, 6, 7 steps to get up to your top speed. That's what I mean. Him, I would say, if I think he is, I wouldn't say he's explosive. I would say if anything, it's more build up speed and like, but his body control and his fluidity allows him to make make guys miss and make guys fall off of him. Like I can't remember what game it is, but like he sticks his foot in the ground and he just completely makes a defender miss his whole body. And like, he's not a small guy. DJ Giddens is not a small guy. So to make somebody completely miss you because of your lateral agility, that's something to see. But it's just that I think with him, when I watched him run at Kansas State, everything was at one speed. I didn't see like the explosiveness that you see with like a Bayshore Tootin, where he's stopping, starting, stopping, and going again. I didn't see that type of explosiveness with him.
That's what I saw as well, sort of thing. He did have one speed, and that's why I kind of like he's a fluid runner, because when he gets the ball, it's one speed. He'll maybe be patient for a second to find a hole and then take off. But you're right, like the question of what he played at and where his explosiveness was. If you take his 10-yard split, that was 156. There, in 30 yards, the final 30 was 2.87 yards. So. That's decent speed for that final 30 yards in the 40 yards. Yeah. So I am curious where that is, to be honest. I agree with you on that, EJ.
Cool. Okay, so EJ, any other combine winners? I think we got a couple more, right?
Yes, we got a couple more. Is DJ Giddens' teammate Marques Sigle. He's a defensive back at K-State. He's another guy I did not see. He ran a 4.37, top of the class, 4.37 40-yard split, and he's near the top of the class in every category. Broad jump, vertical, 10-yard split, 3-cone, all of that. So I'm like, I got to go back to the film. Where is that level of athleticism at? With him, he does have it in his body. It's just that certain technical aspects slow him down. He doesn't play like a natural safety. They play him. The game I watched, they played him in the slot. He had a lot of the slot defenders, slot receivers in man coverage. He would play some press man. He play some off man. From what I've seen, his footwork is he takes some false steps. His change of direction, he's taking false steps there. So he actually is a 4.3 athlete, but he's taking false steps, which is slowing him down and making him look like a 4 or 5 athlete. I think if he gets into a different scheme where they can play him on the roof of the defense, where he can see everything in front of him and react with anticipation, I think then you'll probably see more of that speed come out. But he's a guy. He's another upside guy. I think he definitely has the athletic ability. He just needs to refine his technique. They got to pretty much pick a position. If he wants to play in the slot as a nickel defender, he can do that. It's just that he has to refine his coverage technique. He just got to get his footwork down, I would say. I think that's the only thing that's slowing him down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, he's good. He's good in run support. He does well. 24 defensive stops, 38 solo tackles. He's good. I do agree. I think he's better as a free safety or covering a deep half situation sort of thing. And that's where I saw a lot of his explosiveness and like where his 10-yard split came from. Because watching like the Kansas game when they were playing Kansas, when he took that back half, you could see how quickly he got back there and his ability to stay in between two defenders. So if one's doing an inside post and one's doing a go on the outside, in the Kansas game, he sat right in the middle of those two, let the quarterback pick who he's going to throw to, and then intercept it in the red zone. So his explosiveness was that impressive that he could sit in the middle of those two defenders, wait, And then once the ball was thrown, he could close in on him, and he got that interception. So that was super impressive. And then once he got that ball, he took it back to the 40-yard line. So he ran it back 60-yard, bobbing and weaving in between that offense. It wasn't open field. It wasn't a straight line. He was going laterally, left to right, and made it 60-yard run. So that's great. And, I mean, I didn't know much about him either, but when I was looking at his numbers and looking at his tape, I mean, he's going to get drafted. I wouldn't be surprised if he got drafted in the 5th round, especially because he's also a special teams warrior. He's a workhorse. He does not take any snaps off. He's active in cornerback, safety. He's a kick returner, punt returner. He blocks field goals, everything. So he's a workhorse that NFL teams are going to love. He's got some good technique, but you're right, his footwork needs a little help. In that remark, which can be coached into it, that's fine. But I liked what I saw. I agree, Jay. It was the combine showed his athleticism, and his tape matches it.
Cool. And like that was somebody like when you gave me the list, like I was checking. Okay, he was not in the simulator, but he is now.
Okay.
I mean, there's a reason, right? So EJ, ultimately, right? The reason I created a set of podcasts. I needed to be able to figure out who to put in the simulator.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
There you go.
I mean, that, and it's just way better to talk about this on a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well,
always.
Right. So this is awesome. But how would you rate the athleticism of the safeties that are higher than him on your board? Like, is he more athletic than the guys above him? But he just needs to clean up his game, and that's why he's so low? Or how would you describe that?
So, I mean, taking aside the freak Nick and Mang Worry, he's a freak of nature. On an average base, I think he's just as athletic, if not more so, than the other guys on this list. It's just the simple fact that he needs to refine his technique when he's playing man coverage, or he needs to I would say get more comfortable in his position if he's going to be playing on the roof of the defense. He needs to pick a position and refine your position and master that position. That's what I would say is the separator between him and the top guys. Is the separation is not athletically, it's technically, I would say. So I think he's an NFL caliber athlete. I think immediately he's going to go play special teams because I mean he can run and he can hit. So some special teams coach is going to love him. But I think he's a guy, I say in a year or two, then you start hearing his name. Then you start seeing him get into the starting lineup. But as far as athletically, I don't see any separation between them and the top guys.
Randall, anything to add to that?
No, I think that's accurate. I think athletically he matches. I'm not sure. I think there's a chance that it doesn't work out for him in the NFL overall on an overall standpoint. But I do believe that with the right coaching, in 2 years he could work. But I don't know if he can add that. I don't know if he can get into top 5 talent with the talented safety class that we have this year. Like I wouldn't pass up a safety if you need a safety in a top 50 pick to wait for a producer or a developmental guy like Sigle. I wouldn't. It'd just be a little bit of a risk for me.
Agreed. And this is a deep safety class. I don't know everybody's board, but for example, I know Josh had 8 safeties in his top 100, which to me seemed like I can't think of a year that 8 safeties went in the top 100. So even if there's 6 that go in the top 100, that would already be a deep class.
Mm-hmm.
So for there to be 8 in the top 100, that's saying something. Either about the deficiencies at another position or how good the safeties are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. But and I've also heard Kyle Krabs say it before. This draft is really good. It's just not at the positions that you typically think a draft is going to be good at.
Yeah, people don't think this draft is good because it doesn't have the glamour positions. It doesn't have the flashy wide receivers other than Travis Hunter, and doesn't have the flashy quarterbacks. So, and it doesn't have the really flashy corners either. So, those are the glamour positions that people like. But this is more of a draft for the trenches and for defense, and it's just not exciting to regular fans.
Championship winning draft.
Yep.
It's exciting to me.
Yeah, me too. I love this draft.
I'm excited. Yes. So EJ, any more? I think we have at least one more.
Yeah, I got a couple more. I had to go back and look at Tez Johnson again. I did not see a 4 or 5 40 coming from him. I was pretty sure he would run at least a 4.4 or something like that. But he ran a 4.5, and so I went back to the film to see if I was watching like straight line explosive speed or was I just watching elite quickness. And I came away looking and saying, I saw elite quickness from a smaller player. Like he weighed in 5'10", 154. 154 pounds is really small for the NFL. I don't know how he's going to survive. I don't know. He's a big question mark, especially running a 4.5. But where he wins at, I see now where he wins is with his quickness. Down at the Senior Bowl, nobody could cover him because he was just too quick laterally. He made his moves were too explosive. So I'm guessing with him, when you see him running away from guys, it's the initial quickness, it's explosiveness in like the 5 to 10 yard area, and then he's just topping out on his speed, and that's it. But that's more than enough because one he's not carrying a whole lot of weight, so he can move like that. And two, he has a low center of gravity where bigger guys it takes them a little bit longer to change direction. So I came to the conclusion he's not that straight line burner, which I think is going to hurt his draft stock a little bit, especially being at that size. And they said during a broadcast that he's working to gain weight. I don't know if that even is going to help because you don't want to gain weight to the point where it takes away from what makes you special. What makes him special right now is his quickness and his change of direction. If he's gaining weight, that may slow him down. We don't know. But he sent me back to the tape just pretty much for a different reason. I wanted to see why he ran the 4.5. Is that who he really is, or was he just having a bad day? So I'm guessing he probably runs a straight line for 4.5, but I think his quickness will carry him. His quickness will pretty much allow him to get open versus different coverage. What happens after he gets hit is anybody's guess. I don't know. But as far as getting open and using his quickness and possibly being a good kick returner, he can do that. But I think his draft stock definitely took a hit after the combine, and he's probably going to have to work on that on his pro day.
Yeah, pro day will be good for sure. But yeah, I mean, you're right. That's pretty much his combine almost kind of showed who he was, even though, yeah, I believe that nobody should believe the 40. I think he does run in between a 4.40 and a 4.45, like in game sort of thing, which is fine. But then his explosion, his vertical, his broad was elite. And then his agility, his 3-cone and shuttle were elite. So even though he didn't have a good 40, he showed exactly who he was at that combine. And he produces, he's had 800 yards in the past 3 years, back-to-back 10 touchdown seasons. Super twitchy, you're right. That's his style, is he can create separation in a phone booth. And then his goal is to get that ball and basically bend around the edge to tiptoe the sideline to gain as many yards as he wants. And that's what I do really like about him too. And I'm curious about the NFL with his weight is he does not shy away from a hit, and he will run that sideline. He won't step out. He'll try and grab an extra half yard. He does it. And Tez Johnson has a great mentality. He's been through a lot, with taking over to Bo Nix's parents and stuff like that, and his relationship with his mom, how he still kept it in college and stuff, and that was incredible. So he's been through it. I think he's mentally strong. So a lot of people dropped him far. After a day after the combine, I really only dropped him maybe 10 spots max. I don't think I think he was who he was. I think his pro day will help. I had him in like the back half of day 2. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed there or went early day 3.
Where I was sitting at the combine, we dropped him a full 4 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Immediately, that's what everybody was doing. I personally don't think so.
And we were along the lines of somebody's probably going to take a chance on him. But most of the people that I was sitting around, like Bill Carroll and there was a group there from ESPN and a few other outlets. It was, can we come up? Is there a better wide receiver prospect that we could draft ahead of him? Right? Because your goal, like when you draft somebody, obviously, is you want them to make the team and contribute. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, is there room for a 4 or 5 guy that weighs 150 pounds? Like, is that an arena football player, right? Is that an arena football player or a CFL player or an NFL player? So that was the conversation that I was around. But, I mean, we were talking about a lot of players, right? Because we were like, wow, Matthew Golden did quite well. And he was running pretty – I think he was in the same group running as Tez, but I don't remember that for certain. So,
I think he was, yeah. Yeah, Matthew Golden's not going to be available at 30, so that's a pipe dream lost.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going early.
He made himself a footnote.
He did indeed.
So
EJ, I think we have. Do you have one more? Is it Jahdae Barron?
I got 2 left.
2 more. Okay.
2 more. Yep. Next guy I got is wide receiver from Colorado State, Tory Horton. This is a guy. He's been a little bit out of sight, out of mind because he got injured. I think in the middle of the 2024 season, so he hasn't been playing. He hasn't been on people's eyes, and the fact that he played at Colorado State, not everybody's going to be watching him. But this guy is 6'2", 196, 30-inch arms. He ran a 4.4 140, which is an excellent time for him. 1.53 10-yard split and a 37-inch vertical. Now, when you watch him play, he was highly productive in 2023. He caught 96 balls for like over 1,100 yards. He's a highly productive guy. Good body control, good quickness. Put up a tweet earlier. You see him. It showed highlighting him running his routes with tempo. He's got 4.4 speed, but he doesn't have to use his 4.4 speed all the time. He is like he's selling vertical, getting the cornerback to turn his hips, and then he's decelerating and breaking it, slamming his foot on the brakes, breaking off the out route, and he does it all the time. Not just on the outside. They play him as more of a movement Z, where they're moving him around. They move him in the slot. They put him in motion. And that's what he can do. That's what he can do. He's not your typical. He's got the size of a boundary X, but they play him like a movement Z, and it works for him because he's got to run after the catch. He's got good hands. He's got body control, and he's got the straight line speed. He's a guy I think will be highly productive with a timing and rhythm quarterback. A quarterback that's going, 3-step drop, back foot hits the ground, balls out. He'll be open. His timing and his routes will have him open on time for the quarterback. And then once he gets the ball, he can do some damage with it. I think I'm leaning towards putting him on my sleepers list because not a lot of people are going to be talking about him, but I think he can. Contribute year one as a wide receiver. Possibly not your number 1 guy, but maybe your number 3 guy. But he definitely has the traits to be a good receiver at the next level.
Yeah, I very much agree. I liked a lot what he saw. The 23 numbers were good. 2.74 yards per route run on 134 targets. So they used him a lot, but he efficiently did it. Had a 75% reception rate, which was great. With his yards, his average depth of target, I believe, was 14 yards. So be able to have that reception rate with being an intermediate guy is impressive. And my favorite thing about him, which you mentioned with the Z qualities that he has at 6'2", is that he's kind of a chameleon. And you can kind of game plan. You can give him a game plan, and he can execute it. There's really not much of a game plan that you can give him that he can't do. Like in 2023 when they played Colorado, because he's more of an intermediate with some deep, but he's twitchy on the inside. But Colorado played 2 high safety the whole entire game, so they gave Tory Horton 16 shallow crossers, and he just took off with them every single time. And then eventually Colorado was like, okay, we won't do it. And then he got a nice intermediate out. Caught that beautifully, and then it was an inside post for an OT touchdown to win it. So like he just adapts well, and then when somebody gives him the route, it just clicks in his head. He's an NFL ready wide receiver, and any NFL team is going to love to have him. I agree with you, EJ.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then the big finish.
Yes, the big finish. Jahdae Barron. we did defensive backs before. He was one of them. He's a guy I thought I had him as a nickel defender. I still got him as a nickel defender. He's another guy I didn't see 4.3 speed out of him on film. But I went back in the film and then I seen some examples of it. There's another tweet I posted against Tory Horton in Colorado State, where they're playing zone. I believe is cover 3 zone. He's off his receiver went for a screen, so there was no underneath coverage for him to trigger on. So he got depth in his drop in zone, and Tory Horton was running a post, I believe, from the opposite side of the field. So Jahdae Barron, he's eyeing the quarterback. He spies the quarterback getting into his throwing motion. He sees that once the ball is in the air, you can see the immediate acceleration that Jahdae Barron has to make a play on that ball. He winds up picking the ball off and running it back about 30 or 40 yards. And that's when I was just like, okay, there it is. Playing in zone covers a lot that he does, playing in the nickel, playing in shallow zone responsibilities. You don't get to see how much of an athlete he is, but it's instances like that where you can see the immediate explosion that he has, and you add that to the ball skills and the instincts that he has. I think he's a ready-made nickel defender at the next level. I mean, like day one, start him. I say play him like the Eagles play Cooper DeJean. Put him in the nickel and let him be a difference maker. Answer every formation with nickel. Play your 4-2 defense. You can keep two high safeties in behind him and just let him do his thing in the intermediate area. I think he will shine, and he has the actual deep speed to carry deep routes when you want to run those deep overs and all that. He can run with all that. I think he really solidified himself as one of the top corners in this class. It's just that I didn't see the 4.3 speed on tape before, and after the combine, I went back to the tape. I see it now. I went and watched more games. And specifically looking for examples of his athleticism and speed, and I found it. And it's just another box to check with him as far as the speed goes.
Yeah, I had him. I thought I had him as a corner. That was well put. I love him in the nickel. I thought he would start at the corner because I think he's a great corner. I do like that speed and those instincts. Ball hawk mentality. 5 interceptions in 2024 without allowing a touchdown. So I kind of just went to a boundary corner for him to start at. But then you're almost getting rid of his run support and his hard hitting in a lot of it. You know, the past 3 years, he had 130 solo tackles with less than a 12% missed tackle rate, which is insane. 69 defensive stops at the line of scrimmage. So if you're putting him at a boundary, you kind of lose that attribute that he holds in its entirety. But as a nickel, I mean, yeah, once you said use him like Cooper DeJean, yeah, that's exactly what he should do. Like that, great idea. Yep, put him in that nickel. Let him be as versatile as he can. And hopefully he lands on a team that puts him in that situation and lets him excel at everything he does, because he is one of the most versatile players in this draft, and we just got to get everything out of him in the NFL for sure. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Only thing that shocked me was the 29-inch arms. That's below average arm length. I mean, that's just like another player I like coming out of Auburn a couple of years ago, Roger McCreary. He wound up playing in the slot, I believe. He played on the outside at Auburn. He wound up moving to the slot. I think also moving him to the slot, that takes away that arm length issue, because outside on the boundary, guys are going to test you, and he may get mossed by a couple of guys just simply because they're bigger than he is. Putting him in the slot, keeping everything more in front of him where he can trigger downhill on everything, that eliminates that arm length issue that could probably pop up.
Yeah, I love that. Agreed. Yeah, I can't decline. But yeah, EJ, I think was that your last guy? You got another one?
I think that was it. Yeah.
All right.
Ooh, we got a question that came in right at the buzzer. Hi, Dana. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, Dana. You were in the chat yesterday, which is awesome.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
To the percent of leverage.
So Randall or EJ, either you want to take that question?
Does the scheme have him adjusting his routes? No, I believe that DBs have to adjust it to his leverage. I think he has a good stem and he has a good line of scrimmage. So he does have the aggression if he's going outside on a go route to at least twitch and then shed off in that first 5. I think he has enough physicality to gain his own leverage on DBs, but he's also elusive enough to just avoid him at all costs too. EJ, what did you think?
Yeah, when I saw him say like he's you're getting man coverage, cover 1 man coverage, the cornerback is leveraged to the inside. I saw him attack leverage. He would stem his route to the inside because as a cornerback, you're taught to take something away and to chase something. When you have inside leverage, you're taking away all the inside routes, your slants, your shallow crossers and all of that, and you're chasing all the vertical outside routes. So once he attacked the inside leverage, the cornerback was forced to give space and to prepare himself for the slant. And all that did was give him more space to run his outside vertical route. Now he's got the defensive back on his back chasing him, which is exactly where he wanted him. So yeah, I've seen him attack leverage. I think he would be absolutely perfect on like these option routes, say like these option routes that the Rams run, where he's just reading the leverage of the defender and he can break out or break in as to when based on what the defender is leveraged. And the quarterback has to see that as well. I think he can do that as well because he has good short area quickness. So yeah, I think he does. I've seen him attack leverage before, and I think he can do that at the next level. I think he'll be excellent at that specific aspect.
Yeah, let the Rams trade Cooper Kupp and then pick up Tory Horton in this draft would be.
You gonna catch another 100 balls and be like, where did they find this guy at?
Put a chip in McVay's phone just so you can listen to him during draft day, so you can learn how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, we are going to close this down. We have another podcast that starts up again in 15 minutes. But before we do that, EJ, you want to let everybody know who you are and how they can find you?
Yes. EJ Holt. You can find me on Twitter, eJunkie215. I do a lot of film breakdowns right there on Twitter. I'm giving you instant analysis on how these guys, how these prospects play. 24/7, 365. I do summer scouting. I do fall scouting. I do spring scouting, all of it. Also, you can find me on the Rogue Analytics draft guide that's coming up this spring. They assign me positions that right now they've assigned me cornerbacks and safety. So look out for that. I'll be doing the entire positions. I also have my final rankings here on the draft professor. It's a long name. You gotta get it out. I also have my draft rankings here as well. So you can find me here on the draft professor, and you can find me on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can find me on both places. But yeah, I'm easy to find, and hope you like the content.
So EJ, if you say draft professor 3 times and click your heels, Travis Hunter will fall to the Eagles.
Oh God, I'm going to work on that. I'm definitely going to work on that.
Randall.
You find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Randall Slifer right there. And I do all my podcasting with Draft Professor here. And then I'm doing some writing with Team NBS Media, doing some writing with Buffalo Bills, Arkansas Razorbacks, doing other sports and some entertainment. So you can find me there as well.
Fantastic. You can follow the channel at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic on X and YouTube. We have daily draft content. This is the first of 2 podcasts tonight. So the next podcast, ironically, it's either going to be a Steelers draft or a 49ers draft. It's going to depend on which guest shows up to the podcast. So it'll be can't miss. We have a 32 GM mock draft every Friday. So if you want to do that, look at the pinned post on X at NFL Draft Fanatic right here. And then we are also putting together a 32-person 7-round mock April 10th, 11th, 12th, So Dana, if you want to do that, my other account is at Cincy Planner. Should be able to find it through Draft Professor. But if you're interested in drafting for your team, we're actually going to put, like, if 5 people sign up for the Bills, all 5 of us are going to have to make the decision. It's not that Randall gets to make it or I get to make it. It's going to be all 5. So the idea is to have war rooms for every team. So same way, like EJ is going to be drafting for the Eagles in that. Mm-hmm. And again, if more Eagles fans want to join, it's people talking about what the board looks like and what they think the Eagles are, and the war room has to come to a decision, which is what I actually think is better content than who the draft pick was to begin with. That's not the decision.
It's going to be one big argument.
32 different arguments.
Yes.
to me, that's content gold.
Fair.
Right? Like I think and that's going to get more people involved. So that's the idea. So April 10th, 11th, 12th, it is going to be the premier mock draft. Nobody's going to do it better. I've done 3 of these with other people in prior years. This year I am running my own because I said I think I can do it just as well, if not better. So, but I'm also moderately arrogant, and I like it that way. So,
there you go. Self-awareness, Jim. Self-awareness.
It's all good. But for the 45 podcasters at the Draft Professor, for EJ, Randall, myself, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on a podcast again in about 10 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Later.